That's not a good sound.
So then how did we get it back to the workshop? On the odd chance this happens to you, you might pay to understand how the vehicle works so that you can come up with the least stressful, simple solution. So we're going to get into a bit of detail on this one. Let's have a look what happens when the wheel's off the ground. What happens? So all the wheels are off the ground. Not much happening even with no load. So basically, in normal drive mode of a Prado, which is an all-wheel drive, when you've got a broken CV joint, the car will go nowhere. Okay, so it'll go nowhere because it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, and the drive will go to where the least resistance is, and in this case, a broken outer CV joint, which I'd like to say at this point, I've never seen on any of our vehicles, anyone that's ever came on any of our trips, out of all the many trips we've done, I've never seen it on any other Prado or HILUX or anything. Of the broken drive shafts I've heard of and seen online, they're generally always on HILUXes, and they're generally on the inner joint, not the outer joint. So this is highly unusual, just a really unlucky situation, and it couldn't have happened to a more suitable person for the job. So we're going to share some information, why we think it's happened. It'll probably never happen again, and perhaps include a bit of changing the drive shaft information and how we got the vehicle out of Wanangata Valley. If you want more information, we've got a couple of videos that are going to come out on our other YouTube channel, 4x4 Adventures, FOURBY number 4 Adventures. What was happening getting in there. You'll have a bit of entertainment, obviously, a couple of 10-minute videos like these videos. And this one's going to be more detail on what we think happened. Pretty much we're on a full lock situation. We're having a play around. We shouldn't have even bothered with this little sidetrack. Here's the fact of the matter. It's a lesson for me. Could happen to anyone's vehicle. And we're in a very remote place. So yeah, basically down the bottom of the Wanangata Valley, down the bottom of Zeka Spur. So it's just, we didn't need to go there. Anyone want to have a play? Yeah, have a muck around. Everyone else was okay. And bingo. The good news was, well, the bad news is it probably broke because having a front locker allowed me to put that much pressure on it on full lock. So that's probably what broke it, and a lot of bad luck. And the good news is, by engaging on the Prados, if you engage the center diff lock, so on the 150, put the center diff lock on, or with the lever in the 120s, you're engaging the center diff lock, four-wheel drive if you like, nothing else changes, that's all you're really doing. That engages the rear wheel. So basically what you'll have is a rear wheel drive only, no front wheel drive at all. I'll go a little bit into the detail if you like, but by having the front locker, when we engage that allowed us to be a three-wheel drive. So the third wheel, so it's a bit like a Prado 120 going up a hill. You've got your LSD and you've got kind of like half traction, because normally if you've got both wheels on the ground at the front going up a steep hill, then you've got a four-wheel drive. As soon as one lifts a little bit and it spins, you've got no drive at the other side. You're relying on your rear anyway. But I can tell you, it's a whole new experience. How did we get it out? We drove it. I drove it out of there, slowly drove the vehicle out, kept assessing and thinking the whole time using my mechanical experience and knowledge, and basically drove the car back to Melbourne to the workshop. No problems at all with a center diff lock on. Some people are thinking, oh, you can't do that. You're not going to damage anything, quite simply because the equalization at the front that needs to happen that would normally load up the driveline, because this one isn't gripping, it's just spinning. Whatever happens at the other side, the overs and unders, right, it's basically going to turn in the opposite direction at this side. So when you're driving in a straight line, it's actually pretty quiet once you're up at a reasonable speed, quite noisy getting going. And the position the shaft's in on the outer joint, there's no way that shaft can sort of come out or anything like that anyway. So it's just a matter of a lot of noise. I call it jingle bells. Anyway, let's get the vehicle raised up and have a look and see what it looks like under there. So of course the vehicle needs to be thoroughly cleaned before it comes into the workshop. Obviously the grease isn't going to wash off, but any of the other usual dirt, debris, dust, dirt, stones, rocks, and any of that garbage we want out of the picture so that we can have a clean working environment. I'm just putting it right up at the moment so we can get in there and have a bit of a play around and closer look what's going on. So as you can see, the vehicle's all nice and clean. You know, all the bash plates, no mud or anything left up under here, nice and clean. to work on, and we're going to do some other work as well. We're going to replace the rotors as well. They're doing a bit of pulsating. We have 2 sets. You get a bit of that on a lot of vehicles. See a bit of water residue around. That's all it is from the bit of a quick cleanup. So what I'll do, I'll get this bash plate off and we'll get in and have a closer look at this big mess. Like, what a mess, look at that. Right, so that's what's going on there. It is absolutely gone to pieces now. At normal ride height, pretty much it's sitting in that hole there. But we're also going to include in the video, all the balls are gone, completely lost my balls, right? But how it's going to sit when it's on the road, and take a good look at that angle and what's left of it and what's happening at the moment. So drive shafts have got, give you a bit of a drive shaft story. These are your drive shafts, half shafts, CV joints if you like. That's the actual CV joint, constant velocity joint, right? So you've got a joint at either end. You know, half shaft, axles, drive shafts, whatever you want to call them. We'll call them drive shafts is probably the best name, which includes the CV joint. There's a lot of aftermarket ones. I don't like the quality of them, in particular the boots. This is an aftermarket boot that's nearly 10 years old. So we're going to have we've talked about that in other videos, so check those out. And I may mention it again later in the video, but the point is, this shaft to replace now is about $700 from Toyota. You can get aftermarket stuff for a couple $100, even cheaper in the trade. And some of it's got a 5-year warranty. So it's really got to be considered now that the price is just getting absolutely ridiculous. So one of the first things we've got to do, we've got to get some rags and clean up all the grease. So we've got rid of all the dirt and everything, but water and degreaser doesn't really wash off this grease. So we're going to get a heap of rags, give it a good clean up. We're going to start saving shafts because I like the genuine. So this, for example, this inner joint is probably good, and we can probably use this inner joint, boot and everything. Remember on our HILUX, we broke the inner joint but now we've put a diff drop, the K-on diff drop, solved the problem. Probably never happen again. But we can use this on the old shaft. Then we've got a spare shaft for the HILUX. We had a couple of spare shafts for the 120. We're going to put one of them in, so it's not going to cost us anything. It's not going to cost us a new one. So somebody said if you're going out for the weekend, you haven't spent at least $600, you haven't had enough fun or something like that. Now, so if I fix this for free, does that mean I haven't had enough fun? Do I need to do more damage? Anyway, my point is, it was just super unlucky. Front locker, heaps of pressure, full lock, really just trying to climb out of something against an embankment that just wasn't going to happen. And something had to give, and obviously it was this. And I've got to tell you, you might have seen it, but if you've seen this, come onto our Facebook groups, come on Oz HILUX crew if you're in Australia, or Oz Prado crew, whichever one, and put the photo up of an outer joint like this broken, because I don't believe it. I've never seen it until now. This is a, this is a one-off. So the situation normally is there's balls in there. It's different to the tripod. Normally it's the tripod on the inner joint that goes. Anyway, to change the drive shaft, we need to get the bash plates off. So we're going to do that. We've given everything a clean up. We're going to drain the oil from the diff so we don't have any overflow. At the end of the day, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to change the rotors as well. So I'm going to remove the caliper. I'm going to remove the brake rotor. So calipers, a couple of bolts around here. Firstly, you've got to, after we clean up the mess, the 10 mil for the ABS line, the 12 mil for the bracket, the 2 mounting bolts here, this one and up there, they look like 17s, don't they? Right, let me know in the comments if they're 17, because I haven't worked on many Prados lately. Some tie wire, we'll tie this caliper up over here out of the way. We'll take the rotor off. That gets a lot out of the way. I'll probably take the sway bar off just because it allows a bit more movement, even though you probably don't need to. Probably take this sway bar off here. I might not. I'll decide as I go. I'll let you know. And once we've got that out of the way, these 2 bottom bolts here is probably all we need to do to be able to pull that whole shaft out. Dust cap off. Split pin, so this dust cap with a wood chisel, very carefully or you'll damage it. They're about $40 each. We do keep them in stock for people that if they get wheel bearings off us and they know they've got damaged caps, we can supply those at $88, whatever. 35mm nut behind here, split pin, bang, tap, tap, tap. That'll loosen this whole steering knuckle assembly with the bearing to start sliding backwards. This shaft here will come out of there. That's pretty straightforward. And then just with a big chisel, give that one there a whack, especially when the bash plate's out of the way, a bit of a sideways whack, generally out of the diff there, it'll just pop out, and the new replacement one we got there will just sit back in position and replace this one, new second hand. Let's have a look. What do we got here? Brand new second hand. We've got this one out of a 120, someone changed as prevention. Great idea, especially while they were cheap. Drive shaft steel, sorry, that's what I was going to tell you. They used to be $1,000 each, as far as I remember. They came down to about 600, 500. At one stage, the cheapest I ever got one was $380, so they got really cheap. We're paying well over 500 now, and retail's about 700. So I'm not going to throw a new shaft into it. just because I've got these, I may as well use it because I might break it anyway. They haven't got, people start getting worried when a bit of grease starts coming out there. That's nothing, I'm not worried about that. This one's pretty good, and of course we've got another one here wrapped in plastic, so we've got another spare for next time as well. Happy days. So we'll have a spare 120 and a spare HILUX one, which will go into this box when we fix that one up with those other parts, and we might have some videos on that. So subscribe and turn the bell on. But I think for today, this shaft you're looking at here is the one that will get installed in the vehicle. I'll give it a clean up. I'll give the whole thing a good clean up. I'll give this a clean up, a re-grease. I'll clean up this seal, make sure it's not damaged. We'll get it out and get it on the bench soon. Apparently I do like breaking stuff. This has been sitting out in the weather, but no rust, because I was going to trash it, but I'm glad I kept it, because as you can see, the outer joint, which is the normal good joint, right, no problem. It's always the inner joint. This is the tripod. It pops out of position. The bearings smashed to pieces. As you can see, they're all gone, but it's just a circlip on the end here. Slide that tripod off. We'll get the one off the other drive shaft, slide it on here, put the new boot on first, the one off the other drive shaft, and we'll just put all that back on here. I think that's how it's going to work, but we've got to compare some parts to make sure they're all the same, because I'm not sure that I've done combination Prado HILUX shaft. I think it's just the shaft length is the big difference here, but I'm not too sure. Normally you put a HILUX and a HILUX and a Prado and a Prado, but we're making things up here. We'll see how we go. We'll let you know. That's why you subscribe, turn the bell on, and we'll come up with some solutions. So just in preparation, this is the shaft, one of the spares we had there. I'm not worried about cleaning up the outside too much. They can clean up on the vehicle, but I've given this area here a good clean and lubrication, okay? Basically clean it up, sprayed a bit of inox on it and a little bit of, you know, molly grease, EP3%, just a bit of lubrication, whatever, so it's clean at the parts that we need. That's going to be the replacement. The thing I've done so far is given it a good clean up at quite a few rags. Not necessarily that much on the shaft itself that's going, but on the control arm, all the areas, all the brake lines, you know, you can see all around here. There was a bit of grease around all on the, you know, up around the wheel arches, a bit of rust prevention, a little bit more cleaning to go, but all the chunky stuff, I've cleaned it all off. So we haven't got a lot more to do to be able to get this shaft out. Like I said, we've got to remove the caliper, those brackets, the caliper. We won't go through it all again, cap, blah, 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 to get this end out, and a couple of other components like those bottom bolts, and then pop that shaft out. So the next thing I'm going to do is drop the diff oil out. We need to drain the diff oil so we don't make a mess. And plus it's due for a diff oil change anyway. So there's the diff oil gone, see, beautiful. Right, get the filler plug out first. We've done change diff oil videos, right? Well, there's inside the, you know, look inside. You love looking inside, don't you? Right? Right, anyway, we don't need to worry about it too much because it's just it's pretty clean. It's a front diff, you know, stays pretty clean. It was probably due anyway, or soon. Remember when you do these things. Anyway, I'll put the plug back in because that'll do. Time to lift, just lift that off gently. Have a look, see what's in there. Oh, look at that. Not much left in there, is there? I just went underneath, bit of the big chisel, the big hammer, tap, tap, and that releases the clip from the drive shaft coming out of the diff. And you can come in just gently, just be really careful of that seal on the diff. Try and keep so you might have to give it a bit of but it might just come flying out all of a sudden. Actually wait there, grab the cup itself. Yeah, give it a wiggle up and down gently, and just work it slowly. It'll just come out, then you'll control the situation. If not, I'll get the chisel again and give it a tap. Not moving? Yeah. I'll get the chisel and I'll give it a tap. That's it, beautiful. Just bring it out, being really careful of that seal. Or you can replace it if you got one. All right, let's get this dirty old shaft out of the way. So it is really important to be careful not to damage that seal. You can replace it if you want, but there's nothing wrong with it. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Similar situation on this side where the bearing is. Another $80 seal. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The new one at that end popped in. And over here, this one's in. We've got the nut on. Just got to pull this arm down for you a bit like that. And then you'll go, oh, that's nice. And that one even fell out. There it is down there. Here you go. What are you doing? Trying to get those bottom bolts in, yeah. That's one. Another one. You just give it a wiggle till you feel it go in. You know, like most other nuts and bolts. That's it. That little, you can push that in and out a bit as well to get it to line up. But you got a few turns on them, did you? Or? Yeah, push it that way like that, I reckon.
I think so. I think I'll just do it by hand.
Yeah, give it a few turns, wiggle like that. That's it. Yeah, that's it, exactly. You can move it in and out a bit as well. Beautiful. That's better, that's how it's meant to be. A little bit more cleaning up. diff oil's in, bash plate's on. This side's looking good too. Happy days, back in business. See you out on the tracks. Have a look at the condition of the tyres. Take a look at the condition of the tyres after going up all those hills in the high country with a rear wheel drive. Look at this, just massive, massive chunks out of them now. But that works all right, because we've got another set of rejects here that we can put on to replace them. We've got a set of someone else's rejects here. They're in a bit better condition. Look at that, they've actually still got 5 mil left. They're going to replace the back summer tyres that just got really badly chewed out. Happy days. Right, we'll just finalise this video, just have a look. So this is the inner that there's nothing wrong with. Normally it's the one that lets it down, you know. That's normally the one that breaks. I sort of want to grab this end and bring it over here, but I don't want to get my hands dirty. Ah, surgical gloves. Just drag it over here so I can have a look at this. Look at this. Have a look at that. What a mess. That's what's left. It's not a few pieces of the cage that holds the balls normally. Here you go, grab it out, go on. And then we'll wrap up this video. Oh, is it going to come out? Let's grab that out and chuck it in. Don't cut yourself on it or something. It'll come out, I reckon. Look at that. Beautiful. That's cage, all the balls completely jingle belled all the way out of there. They're gone. That cup's probably pretty badly damaged. You'd have to clean it up to see if it's any good. I think I'll be throwing that in the bin. So that end will go in the bin. This will go in the bin. Now, I wonder if we actually did the spline, because I was originally thinking it felt like we did the spline, but there might have been that many balls that fell out. Does that look like it's been spinning on the shaft, you reckon? Doesn't feel like it, no? No. It's just got that split pin there. We won't pull it off. That'll be another video. We'll get the split pin off. We'll get rid of that. And yeah, we'll just have a look and make sure it hasn't done it. See these splines here? Because the inners can spin on the shaft. That's why I say you've done a spline. But it looks like it hasn't. It looks like it was just spinning right here. All the balls must have went out straight away, or enough for it to free spin. Anyway, that's the video, guys. That's what happened, and that's all fixed now. Very rare to have that outer joint go like that. Let us know in the comments if you know a Prado or a HILUX that's genuinely had the outside genuine shaft go like that, because I've never seen it before. I haven't seen any photos, video online, any of our trips, anything in the workshop. You ever seen that? Never, no. It's always, you know, it's just usually split boots, really, isn't it? Yeah. And if one goes, it's normally this other end over here. But anyway, that's it, guys. If you want to subscribe, turn the bell on, you can. Otherwise, don't. And if you liked it, hit the like button. See ya. Yeah, anyone that hung around, you're still mucking around. Look at this. Oh, look at the scratch marks in there, though, yeah. On the shaft, yeah. But yeah, this is, I mean, you could make it work. You could get balls and put it back together, but there's a lot of damage there. But it's just the drive shaft kind of thing. It's mainly these surfaces in here where the balls are, up on those outer edges. That's just where it was smacking the inside of the, oh yeah, the end of the shaft's a bit butchered as well, but that's all right. Like I said, it's a one-way trip though. You have to take that clip off, so you'd have to repair, so you wouldn't be able to rebuild this outer, because yeah, when you put it together, you've got to be able to slide that in, click, and it stays there, where that's not going to slide through there, so you couldn't put this back together. So basically, this shaft's rubbish, other than the other end, which will make work on when we've got another shaft that's good at this end. Happy days. Anyway, there you go, behind the scenes.